just is deliberate and determined, and nothing will stop him except his own.
This man barricaded himself inside a bulldozer with at least one machine gun, maybe more.
That it was very systematic, that he was picking and choosing where he was going. He was very deliberate in his choices.
Home video rolls as police open fire on a one-man wrecking crew.
You can see the armor plate on the side of that. It didn't seem to matter what
a bulldozer that
police
he's made into a makeshift armored covered bulldozer, and he's damaged or destroyed half a dozen buildings in Granby.
Destroying buildings and trading gunfire with police.
So I'm in Granby, Colorado. This is the town that was made famous in 2004 when a man and a heavily fortified bulldozer tore through the streets, demolishing entire buildings in his path. And I'm very curious to see what the town looks like now. What was destroyed forever, for good? What was rebuilt? And more importantly, what scars are left behind? Things that maybe were never repaired. So I'm going to use the footage from 2004 and retrace the destruction path of the Killdozer and see what things look like now, all these years later. Now this is basically where this story starts, at least my story for you. This piece of land right here, including this steel building, is the land that Marvin Heemeyer purchased in 1992. And it was this property that really started off all of the issues that he had. This is one of the original buildings to that property that Marv bought, and you can see that it used to say mufflers. It's really hard to see, but you can at least see the S. But that was the business. Now there's a lot of issues that went on with this property. A lot of it had to do with the sewer system. When he bought this property, it was not hooked up to the sewer system. It was to the town sewer system. It only had like a cesspool, like a makeshift cesspool, and the town was really requiring him to hook up to the town sewer. And he refused because he found out that they were going to charge him up to $80,000 to do that, because it was a long run to plug into the existing town, that piping. And you know, there were other issues, like when he bought this property, there was another man who wanted to buy this property who he said was very angry at him for outbidding him. That man owned a concrete business and he wanted this property for that business. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of different things that went on that Marv Heemeyer felt like he was wronged or made a fool of, which really over the course of years really started to build that pressure and that frustration. But basically what he did is he bought a huge Komatsu bulldozer, sold off a lot of his land and actually all of his property here, closed his business, sold off the property, and rented this steel building back from the people who bought the land, either the entire building or just part of the building, and basically lived in this building for 18 months, creating what would be known as the Killdozer right in here. He had a methodical plan to hit a bunch of different companies and businesses all throughout the town, of all people that he felt wronged him in some way. And it's right here where he crashed through, right on the left-hand side where that window is now. Amazing. So if the hole seems kind of small for that monstrous bulldozer, it's because all that aluminum above it was pushed up, creating like a flap, and then came back down once the bulldozer passed through. So that's why that hole seems much smaller than you would think. So once Marv breaks through the wall of his shop, he comes across the property, probably somewhere in this line here, and destroys 2 buildings on the concrete property. This second building here, this was that new batch plant that was built. This was the property and the building that Marv was fighting in court over. He did not want this built, and the town court basically just dismissed his lawsuit after he spent many thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. You can see in Forrest Haggerty's video, you can see on the right hand side there's a RV in there, which it really gives it good scale, because the building doesn't look that big until you see that RV, which is a pretty good size RV that's in there. So this is it. This is what it looks like here. So then he continued down somewhere through here, and that's the main road, just past all those RVs and trucks and everything. Right back there, you can see the highway. And that's when he heads for the Mountain Parks Electric Building. Now, I want to do a shout out to a YouTuber by the name of Forrest Haggerty. I'll put the link down below. He did a great video mapping out everything through Google Maps from above. He maps out the whole route that the Killdozer did, and certainly helped me out a lot trying to map things out. So big thanks to Forrest Haggerty. Definitely check his channel out. Now, Marv Heemeyer continues on his way down one of the main roads, and there is some footage that was captured from on top of this hill overlooking the main street down there. And you can line it up still with this pole that's up here. They were standing right next to this pole. Now, the property down below, that is the electric building, but a lot of that has changed. The parking lot is very different. You could see across the street is still the Napa Auto Parts. It's the same building. So that pole up there, that's where somebody was filming. And right below is the Mountain Parks Electric Building. Now, things are very, very different here. Okay, so after doing a little bit more research on this one, it was not the side here, it was actually the front, which is totally redone, completely different, not even really worth showing you because it looks nothing like that now. But here are some photos of that damage that he did. The next building he hit was the Maple Street Builders building, just a small little steel building, and I think it was right here. And they ended up moving. They're actually up in town now, more into the town, and now it's just grass here. So from here, he makes a left onto Mesa Street and continues down, makes a right onto East Jasper Avenue. And by now, the police and everyone in town know where Marv is headed. He's headed for City Hall and the police station. It was the town hall or city hall that really, he felt really screwed him over with the sewer hookup situation, the zoning, and also when he sued the town because of the concrete batch plant. This is where all that took place, and this is where he was denied. The people that denied him all worked in here. So it makes sense that he would want to hit this building. And the photos are amazing to see all the crushed police cars and everything. Something interesting to note about these photos while you're looking at them is that's a playground that he took out. Now, fortunately, there were no kids on the playground. Personally, I don't think he would have went through the playground if there were kids there, but needless to say, it was completely destroyed. And just for good measure, like I said, it doesn't look anything like it did, but this is the other side, which is the police station. Heemeyer continues down this road here. This is Jasper, and he makes a right on First Street right here, and he's headed for the bank. Now, at the time, this was the Liberty Savings Bank. Obviously, it's changed its name now, but really the only good photograph is pretty much like right in here. The fire hydrant that he ran over is gone. That was right in here. Now, the reason he didn't like this bank was because he wrote a check to pay his fines when they started charging him $100 a day, and the bank denied his check. So he had to come in here and ended up having an argument. And from what I understand, he had just written the check out wrong and had to correct it, initial it, and it went through. But still, in his mind, this bank was on his hit list. The next place Marv hits is Sky High News right here, the local news building. Marv had some problems with Patrick Brower, who at the time worked for Sky High News. So that put this business on his hit list. Most of the footage here is taken from this angle, and the building was pretty much destroyed, or really totally destroyed, so it has been completely rebuilt. He turned around in this parking lot, and when he came back out, all of these cars that belonged to the people who lived in this apartment building had all their cars destroyed because he pushed them right out into the street with the dozer.
Here he comes out to the street.
Scott, if you need to get to...
definitely still running.
If you need to get to someplace safe, we understand,
The whole top of his thing is completely covered in bricks and building material. And now he's turning straight towards me, coming back to Main Street.
Well, Scott, we want you to be safe if you need to go.
We're backing up.
After that, he comes over here and destroys a house that used to be right in this area. This was owned by the Thompson family, who are a very prominent family in Granby. And this was their mother's house, who also happened to be the widow of the former mayor. And there's some incredible footage of him going through and destroying this house. You know, the good thing about a bulldozer is it doesn't go very fast. So they kind of had an idea where he was going long before he even got there. So they were able to get everybody out of these places. For instance, the town hall had a daycare in the basement. So they were able to get all those kids out of there, and they were able to call Mrs. Thompson and get her out of her house too. Just behind her house was the Thompson brothers' storage area, storage facility. Now, the Thompsons were very prevalent in the town, and Marv Heemeyer felt that they were out to get him in any way that they could. Again, there's a lot more to these situations and these stories than I'm explaining here, but that's the general gist of it. So after he took out the Thompsons' facility there, the storage facility, he kind of swings back, and then this is kind of where the Thompsons' mother's house was. You could tell he kind of had this all planned out. He did this very methodically, but instead of going back out into the main road, he turns in here, and this is a driveway that leads down to the independent gas company. This is where he tries to blow up the propane tanks that are back here. As you can see on the sign, it's still the independent gas company, propane company. And those giant propane tanks are right there. This is a well-known part of the story, part of the event, because he maneuvered the bulldozer so he could shoot out one of the little holes that he made with a .50 caliber rifle, and he was trying to shoot these propane tanks, but he was having trouble and fortunately never was successful with that. Now here's something really interesting. When he positioned the bulldozer so he could shoot out the side, he hit this drain right here, this cement drain, and moved it. You could see where it's cracked. It was repaired probably at some point. But look at this. This is, you know, when I talk about scars and things left behind, obvious signs that it happened, that's really cool. I mean, it's just a concrete drain, but that's really interesting to me. I don't know what problem he had with the propane company. I'm wondering if maybe it was an afterthought that he just said, you know what, I'm going to try to blow them up. I don't know. This is where the Killdozer meets the scraper, or road grader, depending on what you want to call it. It's a very brief fight. The scraper was really no match for the power of that bulldozer. This light post right here is what he hit. He came up right before he hits this pole, this light pole. He loses his antifreeze. I guess he blew a hose, and you can see all that smoke and all that steam coming out of the bulldozer. And as he rips through just the corner of this building just to kind of get his bearings back, I can imagine it was very difficult to see at that point. He makes it back out to the street here and kind of does a 90-degree turn right there and aims right for Gambles. And this is where he starts chopping. And the footage of this is pretty incredible, seeing Marv just slam right into the front of this thing and just make Swiss cheese out of it. But really the damage was done when he started going down this side here. And, you know, the roof started to cave in and everything. But this really was his demise as he made his way back down there. Now, as he's going down the side of this, there's a noticeable power loss. The police see that he is not able to push into these buildings like he was. This is the last area that Heemeyer was able to destroy, and I guess the way the story goes is he did not know that this building had a basement. So when he started tearing down the side, probably in an attempt to collapse the entire building, he got the right side track stuck down in the basement and he couldn't move anymore. And most likely Marv knows that this is the end. He was fully prepared for this. He picked up a small handgun that he had and shot himself. So in the end, it took quite a while for them to get their way into the Killdozer. Marv really did a superior job with welding that up, or whatever you want to call it. So nobody could get in there. It took many hours to be able to get in there so they could find him, and they did in fact find him deceased. After that, that machine, the bulldozer, was taken apart with torches, completely dismantled, cut up, and disposed of. It was not kept or anything like that. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's how you perceive it. Some people think that he was a villain or a criminal. Some people think that he was a patriot, sticking up for his rights and sticking it to the man. However you want to perceive it. But it was very interesting to come here, that's for sure, and see what the town looks like now, and see how it's changed and how it hasn't. So I hope you found this interesting, and hope you enjoyed it. I'm getting back on the road. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.